Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are looking at one of the most fascinating narratives in modern football. I mean, think about it. Argentina is back in the World Cup final. They are the reigning champions. But if you've been paying any attention to their 2026 campaign, you know it absolutely hasn't been a victory lap. It's been this chaotic, nail-biting, and honestly, often baffling run to the final in New Jersey. They look entirely beatable, yet somehow they remain unbeaten. It's a sheer paradox, and we are going to break it down. Okay, let's dive into this. It's incredibly tempting, right, to look at a defending champion and just assume they're an unstoppable juggernaut, steamrolling everybody in their path. But the data, the match reports, and just the plain old eye test from this tournament tell a completely different story. We're talking about a team that required 120 minutes to get past a 10-man Switzerland, a team that needed a miraculous stoppage time comeback against Egypt. So you have to ask, how exactly does a team with so many glaring vulnerabilities find itself on the brink of back-to-back world titles?
So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the champion's glaring weaknesses, move on to Scaloni's tactical late-game DNA, check in on Messi and his supporting cast, preview this generational World Cup final, and finally touch on the Falklands banner controversy. All right, part 1, the champion's glaring weaknesses. To figure out how they're actually winning, we kind of need to look at how they are almost losing. The sources outline 3 major flaws that have really plagued La Alba Celeste this summer. First off, they are highly vulnerable on the counterattack, especially against direct pace. Because they push their fullbacks way up the pitch to create width, they leave these massive spaces behind them. We saw Cape Verde and Egypt just drive right through that defensive structure. Second, knockout fatigue. Manager Lionel Scaloni actually has young, energetic options like Valentin Barco and Nico Paz on the bench, but he is fiercely loyal to his aging core. And because of that, we're seeing players tire heavily in the second halves of matches. Their pressing slows down, their recovery runs drop off. And third, there's a severe over-reliance on Lionel Messi. When the team struggles, they tend to stop taking initiative and literally just look at their captain to perform a miracle. The tactical shift over the last 4 years is pretty stark. If you've ever played a team sport, you know exactly what happens when everyone stops moving and just waits for the star player to do something. The entire offense just stagnates. Back in Qatar in 2022, Argentina's success was built on this beautiful collective fluidity. Players like Alexis McAllister, Julian Alvarez, and Angel Di Maria consistently shared that attacking burden. It made them totally unpredictable. But this year, opposing managers have realized they can essentially just assign multiple players to crowd-mark Messi. Without Di Maria around, and with other attackers struggling to find form, the 2026 setup has Messi constantly dropping super deep into midfield just to initiate attacks, while his teammates kind of just stand by. And when Messi is contained, well, the entire Argentine attack suddenly looks incredibly blunt.
Moving on to Section 2, Scaloni's tactical late-game DNA. So if they are fatigued, predictable, and vulnerable to pace, why on earth are they in the final? Well, it all comes down to Lionel Scaloni's tactical DNA. Scaloni relies heavily on very traditional, very narrow South American formations, specifically the 4-3-1-2 or 4-3-2-1. They pack the midfield with technically gifted players keeping super short distances between each other. Now, as we just discussed, this is exactly what isolates the fullbacks and makes them vulnerable to counters. But what it also does is establish absolute dominance in the middle of the pitch. By playing this narrow shape, Scaloni forces a tight, emotionally stable unit. Even when they go down a goal or even 2 goals like they did against Egypt, they literally do not panic. They just patiently absorb the pressure, keep their structure, and wait for the opponent to crack. And this emotional stability translates directly into hard results. Just look at this timeline of critical goals in this tournament. We've got an 85th-minute equalizer and a stoppage time winner against England, a 90-plus 2-minute winner against Egypt, a 120-plus 1-minute winner against Switzerland. That is not luck. It's almost as if they wait for you to get completely exhausted before deciding to actually start trying. It's a deliberate tactical pattern. Scaloni manages risk early on, and then, when the opposition's legs get heavy in those final 10 minutes, Argentina aggressively ramps up the intensity. They refuse to abandon their plan, and it consistently results in these devastating late-game executions. Let's jump into Section 3, Messi and the supporting cast. Of course, a tactical plan is absolutely nothing without the players to execute it. And we can't talk about Argentina without talking about the numbers Lionel Messi is putting up. The guy's 39 years old, and he isn't just surviving out there, he is thriving. He leads the entire tournament with 26 chances created. He's got 8 goals, 4 assists, and 24 successful dribbles. Scaloni's system, despite all its flaws, gives Messi immense freedom to roam, carry the ball, and dictate play. Opponents simply cannot isolate him for a full 90 minutes. But here's the thing, Messi can't finish all 26 of those chances by himself, right?
There's a really crucial internal shift happening within the squad to capitalize on those moments. Back in 2022, Julian Alvarez was the breakout star. But in 2026, he's been struggling for form and fitness, and he's actually losing his guaranteed starting spot. But stepping right into that void is Lautaro Martinez. Lautaro has regained immense ground in Scaloni's plans, stepping up as the ultimate clutch finisher. I mean, he was the stoppage time hero against both Switzerland and England. This changing of the guard up top is exactly what Argentina needs to convert the magic Messi creates, preventing opponents from focusing entirely on the captain. Which brings us to Section 4, a generational World Cup final.
All of this leads us to Sunday in New Jersey, a monumental showdown against the Euro 2024 champions, Spain. This final is absolutely drenched in narrative, and right at the center of it is that number, 39. This is almost certainly the last stand for Argentina's golden generation. Players like Messi, Rodrigo de Paul, and Nicolas Tagliafico, they've won it all under Scaloni, but their era is definitively winding down. They are the aging beasts of world football, relying heavily on grit, experience, and muscle memory.
Now contrast that fading era with Spain's rising superstar, Lamine Yamal. At just 19 years old, he has already surpassed Messi's early international record for goal contributions. Just let that sink in for a second. Yamal is literally young enough to be Messi's kid, yet he's lining up across from him in a World Cup final. Spain represents a completely different timeline. They're fresh, vibrant, and loaded with players in their teens and early 20s who are just beginning to write their international legacies. So, on the pitch, it's a total clash of eras and styles. On one side, you have Argentina, an aging core relying on chaotic resilience, sitting narrow, and thriving in the emotional pressure cooker of late-game drama. On the other side, Spain, a young, dynamic squad that relies on methodical, suffocating control of possession. Spain's entire game plan will be to dictate the tempo and prevent the match from ever reaching those chaotic closing stages where Argentina is the most dangerous. It's a true collision of contrasting styles. Finally, Section 5, the Falklands Banner controversy. Before we wrap up, we do need to take an impartial look at an off-pitch situation currently making headlines and casting a bit of a shadow over the Argentine squad just days before the final. Following their dramatic semifinal win over England, several Argentine players were seen on the pitch holding a banner taken from supporters. The banner read, "Las Malvinas son Argentinas," which translates to, "The Falkland Islands are Argentine." This is a direct reference to the 1982 sovereignty conflict between Argentina and the UK. Now, Article 34.3 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code strictly prohibits the display of political messages at any point surrounding a match. Consequently, FIFA's independent disciplinary committee launched an investigation into the incident, with players including Lisandro Martinez, Christian Romero, and Giovanni Lo Celso reportedly under scrutiny. Naturally, this has sparked some pretty strong reactions, with some UK politicians publicly calling for the involved players to be suspended. However, according to the reporting from both Spanish and Argentine outlets, sporting suspensions, especially ones that would actually bar players from the World Cup final, are considered highly unlikely. FIFA's disciplinary committee isn't expected to issue a formal ruling until after the tournament concludes. The most probable outcome, based on historical precedents, would be financial penalties or formal warnings directed either at the specific players or the Argentine Football Association. So what does this all mean for Sunday? We are set up for a legendary encounter, heavily layered with on-pitch tactical battles and off-pitch drama. Argentina arrives as a flawed, fatigued, yet incredibly resilient champion, desperate to give their aging icons one last perfect ending. Spain arrives as the methodical, youthful challenger, ready to assert a brand new era of dominance. Will Scaloni's narrow traps and Messi's magic hold up one last time? Or will Spain's relentless control finally break the champion's resolve? It's a fascinating question to ponder as we wait for kickoff. Thanks for tuning in to this explainer, and enjoy the final.